It's the final regular season slate in college football, and there are pivotal matchups, ones that will go a long way towards determining who gets in the college football playoff. At the Shoe, Big Ten unbeatens and bitter rivals Ohio State and Michigan will be playing for a conference championship berth, while the loser might be eliminated from college football playoff contention.
We know it's our toughest test of the year. I think we're going to find that we're made of the right stuff.
And after surviving a scare in Waco, TCU is now just 2 wins away from their first ever playoff appearance. And even though they're a big favorite against a sub-500 Iowa State team, their head coach Sonny Dykes is well aware that they can't afford to lose their focus.
So I don't really have to say much, honestly. I just think that there's a maturity and a focus about this group that's really impressive, and I'm really proud of the guys for having it.
A little over a month ago, LSU's odds were 200-1 to win it all, but that was after a blowout loss at home to Tennessee. 5 impressive wins later and an SEC championship berth secured, they now seemingly control their own destiny. But the Tigers still can't afford any slip-ups, especially against a Texas A&M team that is one of the most underachieving teams in the country, having recently gone on a 6-game in-conference losing streak.
This is arguably as talented as a football team as we'll see all year.
And out west, one of college football's classic rivalries goes down at the Coliseum as the surging Notre Dame Fighting Irish, coming off 5 straight wins, will take on a USC team who is now in good position to get into the playoff for the first time since the current format debuted in 2014. It's been quite a turnaround in year 1 under Lincoln Riley, led by quarterback Caleb Williams, who's making a late charge for the Heisman Trophy. It's now or never for the playoff hopefuls. Who will take one step closer towards punching their ticket? We are in for one epic Saturday. It's rivalry week in college football.
Saturday will be fun, but so will today, the junior edition. We have 13 games this Friday, 13 on week 13 of the college football season. A few of the games that we're monitoring: Arkansas at Missouri, Razorbacks coming off a commanding 42-27 win over Ole Miss. One last tune-up for UNC before they face Clemson in the ACC championship game. They get NC State today at 3:30. The second longest uninterrupted rivalry in college football is UCLA and Cal. They play at 4:30. And at 7:30, Florida and Florida State. Gators have won 3 straight in the rivalry. With the table set, it's time to get into some picks for today. And for that, we have a great threesome of Emory Hunt, Chip Patterson, and Tom Fornelli joining us now. I have to start with my alma mater. That's the game we're going to go to first. Florida, they beat Florida State in the past 3 meetings. Got to get that in there because my Gators are 9.5-point underdogs. Emory, which way are you leaning for this one tonight?
You know, this is a great matchup. I remember this game really used to mean something. It was a 12 o'clock game, but now they buried this game at night. But I do like Florida plus the points here. I think 9.5 is a little bit too much in a rivalry game, especially when you have the best quarterback in the game. Florida has Anthony Richardson, who has quietly improved significantly since the Kentucky game. No one talks about how well he has thrown the football. I do think because Florida and Florida State play the same game, I like this one to be a tighter matchup, and I also like the under as well.
So I'm going to go into the history of this rivalry because while it is incredibly competitive, over the years, they've each had winning streaks. And since 2007, again, while it's been a very competitive series between these two teams, they are not usually close results. Since 2007, only twice has there been a single-digit margin in Florida and Florida State, one of them being the 24-21 Florida win a year ago. So if history is going to go with the trend, then either it's the Gators by double digits or it's the Seminoles by double digits, and that's when I go to simply one of the hottest teams in football. Because since a 3-game losing streak, Florida State has A, gotten healthier. That's probably the most important thing. But B, they've also gotten into a rhythm with the running game. Jordan Travis has been spectacular. I feel comfortable laying this 9.5. I think Florida State wins by double digits.
Chip, I believe the phrase you're looking for is that Florida State right now is an absolute wagon. You mentioned the 3-game losing streak that it had in early October to Wake Forest, NC State, and Clemson. But in 5 games since then, it has been performing at the absolute peak of its abilities. Jordan Travis is having a fantastic season right now. He's actually thrown more touchdowns than incompletions over the team's last 3 games. And I just look at this matchup for Florida. I mean, Anthony Richardson, I think, is the most talented quarterback in this game. I don't know if he's playing the best. And I look at him, he's a projected first-round pick. Florida's already reached a bowl game. It's 6-5. I don't know what kind of possible motivation there really is for the Gators in this spot. Maybe Anthony Richardson is thinking about his future and going to the NFL and making a whole lot of money, and maybe he's not going to, put himself at too much at risk in this spot in a game that Florida doesn't really need to have. Florida State wants to end the losing streak to its rival Gators. I'm laying the points with the Seminoles. I just think they are the better team right now, and that's the side I'm taking.
Florida State coming into the game pretty healthy. Florida on the other side missing several of their top receivers for tonight. Going to North Carolina now, a short travel for NC State. They go to Chapel Hill to take on North Carolina. 17th ranked Tar Heels. They're coming off that disappointing loss to Georgia Tech, but they're favored by 6.5. Chip, how are you feeling here?
I think I'm going to lay these points with the Tar Heels. A little bit of a favorable number as you obviously get it under a touchdown. There is very little faith in what NC State can do offensively. Both of these teams come in limping. NC State had to go down to its 4th-string quarterback in a loss to Louisville. Ben Finley making a reappearance here. And, of course, as you mentioned, North Carolina blew a 17-0 lead against Georgia Tech. I think that the arrival of the rival is going to snap this Tar Heels team attention back into where they need to be. They have the better offense by far. We've got a 4th-string quarterback against a future first-round draft pick. I just think that the Tar Heels, if they are able to score, and again, I respect NC State's defense. It is not going to be easy for North Carolina to get to 24, 28, 30 points. But if they do get to 30 points, I don't think NC State can get there either. So I will lay the points with the better quarterback and take the Tar Heels.
Yeah, you know what? I think there are going to be a lot of points in this game because it's a North Carolina game, and there are a lot of points in every North Carolina game because the Tar Heels have one of the most explosive offenses in the country. And as you mentioned, Chip, they have one of the best quarterbacks in the country with Drake May, who had his worst performance of the season last week in North Carolina's loss to Georgia Tech. But there is some hope still to get him to New York for the Heisman ceremony as a Heisman finalist. And I think this is being the last chance for him to kind of pad those numbers a little bit. The Tar Heels in a rivalry game will do as much as they possibly can to help May get some numbers. And on the other side, you mentioned NC State's down to its 4th-string quarterback. Chip's right down the road. I think he's the next in line in case something happens there. But we've seen this North Carolina defense is a salve for every single offense that is struggling that has faced it. They somehow find ways to move the ball and put up points on it. So I think the over is the best play here. Anything under 60 in a North Carolina game is an auto fire from me.
Yeah, I can't blame North Carolina's defense. They like watching great offense, so that's why they give up so many points when they're out there on the field. They just want to see scoring and scoring. I think they'll give up some points no matter who's at quarterback. So I like the over for sure. But to Chip's point, I do like the fact that North Carolina will take care of business. I thought they let their foot off the gas in a big way against Georgia Tech, gave that young team some confidence. I don't think they'll do that in this rivalry game, so I like them laying the points as well. But, yeah, that defense is just defense in name only.
UNC has covered the past 5 games against NC State. Switching it up now, a lot on the line for Iowa when they host Nebraska tonight. Hawkeyes can clinch the Big Ten West with a win and make their 2nd straight appearance in the Big Ten championship game. Tom, what's your pick for this?
Yeah, it kind of goes against everything you expect from an Iowa game, but I'm going with the over because if we go back a few weeks when Iowa lost at Ohio State, its defense played fantastic. It kept the offense in the game as long as it could before things kind of snowballed. But the biggest thing that happened in that game, as far as the Hawkeyes' perspective, is quarterback Spencer Petras was benched in the second half for Alex Padilla. He got the starting job back the following week, and while he's not playing at, Drake May levels or Heisman levels, Petras' performances since then have taken a dramatic increase. Things have been so much better for this Iowa offense, and I don't think the totals for these games have really caught on to that yet. I think we're still looking at the Iowa team from the first half of the season rather than the last month. So I look at this total. I think Iowa's going to be able to move the ball against Nebraska. I think they will put up some points. And I also think that this Nebraska offense is very capable of turning the ball over and leaving Iowa with plenty of short fields. So I think this total's a little too low. It's not going to be a shootout, but I think we're going to get into the 40s.
Yeah, I'm going to go under here. I feel like when we saw this line at 10.5, I'm like, which is Brad Banks out there for Iowa playing quarterback? No, this still is an Iowa offense. I know they went from, a bad situation at quarterback to not as bad situation because I think both quarterbacks still are underwhelming. I like Nebraska in this spot. I'm taking them plus the points, but I'm also going under. Trey Palmer, one of the best receivers in college football. I think we'll see one or two big plays from the former LSU Tiger out there on the field. I think, again, Iowa's defense is respectable, but let's not give too much credit to this offensive attack. I like Nebraska plus 10.5.
Yeah, 10.5 is a huge number to ask this Iowa offense to go and cover. And while Tom did mention that Nebraska's offense could turn the ball over and set up some short fields, what he did not mention was Nebraska marching down the field, which is why, as I'm trying to handicap this game, the one angle that I feel the most confident in is Nebraska team total under, because of all the different ways that this thing could go, I do not see the Cornhuskers being able to score a lot of points on this Iowa defense. When we stack up all the different units, the Iowa offense, defense, Nebraska offense, defense, there is but one that is among the nation's best, and it is that Iowa defense. And so when we get into these tricky numbers with the 10 in the hook, with the 38.5. I want to go to the one thing I feel the most confident in, and it is Iowa's defense. So that is where the play is with the Nebraska team total under.
Scoring points could be at a premium for that one, but I think we will see a lot with UCLA and Cal. UCLA 10-point favorites. The over-under set at 60.5. Bruins no longer in contention for that Pac-12 after their loss last week. Will UCLA rebound against another rival, Emory?
Yeah, they will. I think you lay these points with UCLA. You talk about football's Spider-Man meme, UCLA, North Carolina, USC, all offense, no defense. That'll be the case here. I do like them outgunning Cal, laying these points, and also taking this over. I think they bounce back in a big way against the Golden Bears.
Not my most confident play here. Bad vibes game. Real bad vibes game. I understand it's a rivalry. I understand there's a lot of passion that goes into the alumni and the history of this. But you think about where UCLA is offensively, you feel like you did almost everything that you could do in that game. I mean, did UCLA even punt in that game in the loss to USC? They just could not get enough stops. Cal is not a team that I think is going to be able to light up the scoreboard. They are nowhere close to USC's realm. And so I think about what Justin Wilcox's approach is in this rivalry game. If you don't think you're going to win, then maybe you want to make sure you just don't lose by a lot. You slow play this thing. And so, again, not my most confident play for this segment, but I will say that under 60.5, because Justin Wilcox and the home underdogs in a rivalry game are going to try to do everything they can to shrink it and give themselves a chance late.
Give me Cal on the points. I'm worried about a possible letdown situation for UCLA here. Yes, this is a rivalry game, but just last week, UCLA was playing USC with a chance to go to the Pac-12 championship and a possible chance to maybe sneak into the playoff if things went its way. Now, after losing that game, the Bruins might be feeling, they might be down bad. I don't know exactly what they have to play for here. And I just look at the situation. You also mentioned Emory, the defense. UCLA doesn't have one. So it's hard to trust them to cover a double-digit spread when they haven't really shown an ability to stop other teams. And Chip, you're right. This Cal team is not very strong offensively, nor is it explosive, and it's probably going to be able to want to slow the game down. And it'll be able to do that because UCLA's defense isn't good, which will allow Cal to kind of dictate the pace of this game. I think it'll be lower scoring too, but I'm much more comfortable taking the 10 points with Cal because, again, I don't think UCLA has the defense to win by 2 scores.
Out west some more, New Mexico and Colorado State, they play on CBS Sports Network at 3:30 Eastern. Lobos, they need a win to avoid going winless in conference play this season, but they're 7.5-point dogs. Chip, how are you feeling about this one?
I'm going to lay the points with Colorado State. It's always an interesting wagering opportunity when you can find these first-year coaches. They start out just dreadful, as Colorado State did at the beginning of the year. But then as you start to get into conference play, and especially as you start get down to the end of the season, then you can see the message start to really click. And so I will take Colorado State, Jay Norvell, a classic sort of principle play for me where a first-year coach, maybe the number hasn't caught up to how the team has improved over the course of the season. So I will lay the points with the Rams.
It's the bottom 25 game of the century of the week, boys. It's the biggest game on the schedule of the weekend. I can't wait to watch it. And I'm looking at it. That total seems a little low, doesn't it? Like, that's kind of disrespectful that we're setting a total for a college football game at 35 and Iowa's not involved. I think that I like the over here. Chip, you mentioned it. Colorado State, under Jay Norvell, as the season has gone along, they've kind of gotten better, learned more about the playbook, and have gotten more comfortable in what they're trying to do. I think that the Rams are going to have their best offensive performance of the season today, and I think the Lobos are going to be able to move the ball quite a bit themselves against a Colorado State defense that has not shown much ability to stop other teams. That total's too low. Give me the over.
Listen, I like the total. That's why I'm going under, because watching a couple of New Mexico games, it's like, man, if I was the defensive coaches, I'm like, yo, all we need is 13 points. Can you guys get us 13 points? And we could probably be undefeated, man. These used to be two of the Tiffany teams in the Mountain West Conference play back in the late 90s, however. But when you look at New Mexico, I think their defense will give them a chance against this up-tempo offense of Colorado State. So I'm taking New Mexico plus 7.5, and I'm also going under. Their defense is underrated. Their offense, whew, good thing is almost over.
From an over-under of 35 to 156, the SEC Arkansas favored by 3 against Missouri. That game is on CBS. Chip, what are you thinking here?
I'm going to go under because we've got a little bit of a strength-on-strength matchup where Arkansas is so good at running the football. It was one of the reasons that they were able to absolutely pound Ole Miss last week, a very bad run defense. However, Missouri's got a pretty good run defense. And so I see this being a game where, you know, the way that these two match up against each other, the thing that Arkansas wants to do offensively is also the thing that Missouri is really good at stopping. And instead of being able to move the ball through the air, that's not something that Arkansas has really been elite at through the season. That's going to lead to a lot of ground game, a lot of clock running, and a lesser possession game. So give me the under 56.
Hey, you know, this is a strict numbers play for me, Chip. I don't have a ton of confidence in who's going to win this game. I kind of view it as a coin flip for the most part. So if I can get the home team as an underdog in a rivalry game in what I feel is a coin flip, I'm going to take the points. As you mentioned, Chip, Arkansas likes to run the ball. The one thing Missouri's defense has shown a very strong ability to do so far this season is stop the run. Of course, Missouri's offense has been pretty impotent itself, but Arkansas's defense hasn't really stopped many teams either. So I like the Tigers here at home in a rivalry game, needing a win as dogs. Maybe they don't get the win, but I don't think Arkansas pulls very far away.
And that's why I like Arkansas, Tom, because I feel like you don't have to pull far away. It's only 3 points. Sometimes throughout the week it was up to 4, but I still like Arkansas. I think overall much better team. Missouri has been highly inconsistent, especially on the offensive side of football. So for that reason, and because it's a rivalry game, because both teams tend to play inconsistent ball, I think we could go under as well. So I like Arkansas and the under in this one.
Thank you guys very much. We will take a quick break, but before we do that, we'll catch up with y'all on the other side. Let's show all the picks recaps from those first slate of games on this Friday, following day after Thanksgiving. Florida at FSU. FSU, big favorite from both Chip and Tom. Over in the ACC, they like UNC and the over to hit in that one. UCLA and Cal split on the decision of how they feel for the over and the under with the total there. Not a lot of love for Iowa, so take Nebraska. Say they all, and take the over if you're Tom. And then we finish up with the SEC, Arkansas at Missouri. Tom likes Mizzou. Emory, Arkansas. Chip, hammer the under at 56.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.